Good morning. Welcome back to Morning at NTV. My name is Malaki Vilodera. Now today we're big on how you can, turn your talent into business. So Andrew Chamagero was with musicians and how they've been able to turn that passion and talent into business. And so here on Solutions today, we're talking about football, how you can be able to turn your talent in football into business. Maybe come up, with the group of people and then just professionalize everything. And so in studios to talk about that is Masi Muduru Grace, who is the head of marketing and communications at Onduparaka Football Club.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Onduparaka started in 2011.
Yes.
But you guys started as, it was just a group of, young people passionate about football, earning nothing, but just there for the passion and for the game and for the fun. Tell us more about that and how you've been able to grow into professionalizing that space.
Yeah, football really is just, one of those activities that people do for leisure. And when you look at the other parts of the world, football is a business. It's a serious sport. It's a career for very many people. And we realized that despite the fact that there was a lot of talent in West Nile, nobody was taking the initiative to professionalize the game. So this group of young boys used to play just for leisure as well, until they saw how well they were doing. They were organizing, ED Cups, these small tournaments within, the home area. And when they saw how good that turned out, they thought, well, why don't we give it a shot and make it professional? So they registered Onduparaka as a company
when
in
was
2011.
This? Okay.
And then that was also the same time they went into the division level. And from that moment on, they did not lose at any stage until they made it to the top flight. And all through this journey, it was about mobilizing people who really are already lovers of soccer, getting young people to identify with the club, making the club communal, for people to own it, and feel like this is our thing. So because we were not having any sponsors or money coming from anywhere, it was these people who were pushing the club from, the level at which it were to where it is. So our big break came about 2 years ago when Onduparaka rose up to the very finals. We had already qualified, of course, for the Premier League, having been the top-ranking team from the Elgon region. So we were also at the finals of the Uganda Cup, which was played in Nachivubo. So there was a lot of mobilization that was done. So people traveled all the way from West Nile. Border riders rode from Arua, which is over 500 kilometers.
Yeah.
There was just a massive crowd at Nachivubo, and they filled the entire stadium. And much as Onduparaka lost that game to Vipers FC, there was a message that was sent to the football fraternity that there are people that still love sports, and they were just waiting to be mobilized around the sport. So it's from that moment we did not look back, and we had to now make sure that we keep that crowd interested in the club that brought them to the stadium on that day. And I'm happy to say that 2 years later we still have the same crowd, unlike very many clubs.
Actually, people in Arua say that Onduparaka is a fan-based club. Like they have a say in the operations of the club.
Exactly.
Tell us more about that, because people would think that the board is independent just to provide oversight and there's a management team and stuff like that. But with Onduparaka, things are different.
Yes, we of course do have those structures. We have a board, we have a management, but we also have a parallel fund structure. We have a funds committee that has their head.
A funds committee?
Yes, they have their treasurer, they have independent meetings that they do. And so this committee is the committee that represents the voices of the funds to the management. And the way that the club is run, despite the fact that we have these structures work at a certain level. When it comes to how the club is run, ideas about planning for game days, supporting the club, that is purely an initiative of the fans. So what we've done is to create channels where fans interact with the management often. So we have social media platforms where fans interact every day. We have very many WhatsApp groups for different regions. They are full to capacity.
Wow.
So every day fans are sharing ideas. Management is on the page. They will put their ideas there. We have a whole fans page on Facebook, because when you have your official club page, nobody can post there. It's administered by the club.
Right.
But parallel to that, we have a group on Facebook which has about 79,000 people.
79,000?
Yes, and it grows every day. I could be talking under 80,000 already. I check every week and there's always, you know, a growing number. And this is built within 2 years, really. So when you go to that page, unlike the official page where it's administered by the club, here fans are the ones that post. When they have issues to raise to management, they put it out there. It helps us with doing a survey, so sometimes you can ask, where is everybody, you know, where are fans from, and you're able to gauge where your fan base is. So when you have those kinds of forums, fans feel like they own the club, they feel like this is our thing, and we give it to them that way, so that they, you know, lead the initiatives, and it promotes ownership, really. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And I can imagine they actually hold you accountable because of transparency issues.
Very
Many
much.
football clubs have gone under because of lack of transparency, even with finances.
Exactly.
That's interesting. When you started out, because I know even here in Kampala, I when just, you know, going through Kampala, I see many football teams of young people, very passionate, but they're just amateur, starting out, doing it for fun.
Yes.
So when Onduparakas started, you actually started with, when you decided to register, you registered under Division 2, the lowest, you know, division, and then you grew steadily. What does it take to register a football club?
Definitely at district level, we have the DFS. These are structures that manage football at that level. So they are the basics that you must be, of course, a registered football club. You must have, you know, the players and all of that. And then you visit that particular department to give you guidance, to give you the specific documentation that you need to register you as a club or into the competitions. Of course, they have different requirements at different levels. They will give you those requirements that you must fulfill in order for you to qualify to play in a tournament. Every level has a different set of rules. So the rules that applied at division level are not definitely the same at the level at which we are, for example, the Premier League. Because most teams, even when they grow up to, because now to grow from one level to another is competitive. That means you're participating in a tournament. If you finish on top, you go to the next tier. But when you are now qualifying to go to the Premier League, for example, the requirements are very heavy. So most of the clubs actually that have come from the big league, their pitch, for example, the pitches on which they play at that level are disqualified. They say that they cannot play the Premier League there. I've seen it happen now for big league as well, because they go to inspect these places. They want to know if you have sanitary facilities. They want to know if you have a perimeter wall fence. A perimeter wall fence is very important because the part where players play has to be shielded off from the supporters. Otherwise, when you score a goal, people can easily, you know, run in and harm players. And so it's now a very serious issue. Sanitation is a very serious issue. Licensing is a very serious issue. And also now they've gone as far as proposing structures that you must have a CEO, you must have ABCD.
So you have to be very professional.
Very, very professional.
Let me ask you, and so with registration, when you start out a club, because I know many clubs just do it for fun, and maybe they have ambitions of registering, are there cost implications to it?
Definitely. The way Onduparakas was actually registered the same way you register a company. That means you're registering an entire company. What they're going to do may not only be football. I know that now, for example, for Onduparakas, we even have a foundation that, you know, is the charity arm of the club that gives back to the community that supports them. So when you register the same way you register a company, meaning you have to have your shareholders, what kind of company are you registering this club as, and of course there are minimal costs that are charged at the Uganda Registration Services Bureau.
Are you in a position to give us rough estimates?
Roughly, I would say for the entire process could be about 350. Thousand. Yeah. So unless, of course, like ours, which is upcountry plus travel costs and that cost of getting these documents together and all of that. So once you are registered, you are a legal entity just beyond being a football club, and then you'll have to embark on another process with the federation. So that is where now they have their own list of requirements that they need. For example, the details of the players. Now players are supposed to have passports, for example, before they are licensed. They have passports. They want to have their national IDs. They want to have, you know, details of the age of these players, because we have different tiers. They're junior players. A young boy cannot be seen to play with a senior team. There's a junior league, there's a senior league. So they also are very critical about the age requirement, and then a contract, because players are contracted.
That brings me to the other question, because you people have grown steadily, and now you've gotten to a point whereby you're now commercial.
Yes.
And you're earning out of it, and the players are actually getting paid out of it.
Exactly.
So how do football teams generate their revenue? Because that's a very big question. Because someone would ask, you just go to a game, play a game, you win. How do you make your money?
Exactly. For me, that has been our biggest success story. You know, when we started out, it was just about giving hope to these players that one day this can actually be what put food to your table. And the kind of players we got, you know, some of them were just doing odd jobs, people who had not finished school because of different challenges and all of that. So when they started to play, they did not know how far we could go. When we got into that league, one of the biggest things that happened was the fact that they now had contracts. They were insured. They have insurance cover that covers their whole, you know, time at the club. They earn a salary at the end of every game, every month. They also get paid every day a training allowance. And then they get paid match bonuses when they win games. And then sometimes we have sponsors who give them prizes, especially if you're the man of the match and all of that. So in terms of revenue generation, we have different avenues. One is sponsorship. You have to market yourself well for a corporate entity to identify with you. And then we also do have gate collections, because to go to watch these games, I mean, you have to buy a ticket. And then we have merchandise. And this is a huge revenue base, for example, for us as Onduparaka, because one of the reasons we keep our fans interested is because that fan base is a resource base to sustain the club, because it's very expensive to run a club. And I can tell you our budget for a season is 1.5 billion.
For a season?
Yes.
1.5 B.
Exactly. Because I'll just give you an example. 65 million is just transport without anything. But if you're going to pay...
Transport within West Nile region? Or
no, from West Nile to here.
To Kampala,
we play about 15 or more games away from home. So that means you have to travel. And our transport costs, basically, the public transport is between 35 and 50,000. So you're transporting 30 people. And then you must give them their travel allowance, because they must feed on the road. This is over 8 hours drive. So and that is just an example. They really have to. I mean, rightfully so.
They eat a lot here.
So now if you have a 1.5 billion budget, and you even look at the sponsorships you have, most of the corporate companies are not yet ready to invest in sports, because our sports fraternity is still growing. Though I must commend FUFA for making the league now more attractive. I see quite a couple of corporate companies going in. It's a very good marketing enterprise, but you are also able to reap out of it. So for us, gate collections are a huge revenue base. Merchandise, the jerseys, we sell over 3,000 replica jerseys every season.
That is a point whereby I needed clarification on, because I'm thinking, if I'm a fan and I buy a jersey, I just take care of it and I only wear it whenever Onduparaka is playing. Do I have to buy another jersey again? Are these fans that loving, such that every single game they buy new ones?
They even buy over one jersey for a season. And I can tell you, if you walk the streets right now, you will find not less than 10 people just around Serena, like on the streets, who are wearing an Onduparaka jersey.
Actually, they have a game today
over the weekend. And in every town I stopped at, there were at least 5 to 6 people wearing the jersey. Because for them, it's identity. It's like, this is my thing. So we don't just bring one. For example, our club has 3 jerseys. So the green for us is a home kit. And then our away kit is usually white. And then there's yellow as well. So somebody will buy 3 jerseys and they can wear whichever they want at whichever time. On top of that, you make corporate T-shirts that people can wear to work on Friday.
Interesting.
Yeah. Wow. So those merchandise sales help you know, in terms of revenue generation, because you must sustain the club. If you don't do those things, you will be defeated. Where do you get that money from?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And someone is asking on social media, how much does a footballer get paid per game or per month?
Okay, in terms of salaries, most footballers, the least is 500,000. That's the least
Per
in
month?
terms of salary. And then for us, our match bonuses differ between, if they win, it's the match bonus is between 50 and 150,000 per player. And then we have what we call player of the match, where they've been giving them 250,000 per game, and then every day they part with a training allowance, which is between 10 to 20,000 shillings every day. So that means in a week you're earning about 60,000.
Interesting.
Yeah, in your pocket. That is outside of your salary.
Yes.
So then we also have players who have whose images are used for different promotions by different companies. That is a whole different negotiation between the player and the company that wants to use them for a campaign.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that is individual. So
That is individual.
Onduparaka as management is not involved in
They
that.
get a very little percentage, but the player gets the most, because for us now as a club, we must market that product as well. So we support the player to professionalize their campaign. So a percentage is given for the teammates and also for the club, but the bigger percentage is for them. That's also an avenue for revenue generation. Of course, now with things like apps and different other portals, you're also able to raise your money. For Onduparaka as well, we have other informal things that we do, like the Onduparaka nights at different nightclubs, and so fans go buy drinks, dance, have fun. So out of the monies that they pay, the particular entity offers a percentage back to the club.
Interesting. So what I'm getting from you is every football team has to be strategic and very innovative when it comes to generating, money generating, you know, kind of ventures.
And also managing it, because now we know where our salaries come from.
Yeah.
We know that, like right now, we haven't yet concluded a single sponsorship. So we must invest the money that we've made back into the club.
Okay.
To keep the club going, because if you're going to only depend on monies that come from sponsors, what happens? But of course, there are other clubs in the league, for example, KCCA, URA, who are institutional clubs, meaning their budget is, you know, directly from the state budget. So they don't have to worry about what we worry about. But if you're not that kind of club, you must be very conscious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about the 10K for 10K fans of Onduparaka FC.
Well, I told you about the exorbitant amount of money that we spend on transportation. It's very hectic also in terms of fatigue for the players, because they travel the longest distance, and sometimes they come a day before the game and they're very fatigued and they must go to a game, and yet they've been in a public transport. So our fans decided that they wanted to start a fundraising drive to buy a bus for our club. There are over 40,000 fans, but they thought, well, if every fan gave just 10,000 shillings, we could raise over 400 million and buy a bus for the club, hence the campaign. So we are into the second week of the campaign. We are close to 10 million shillings already. So every day fans send money to their representatives, and this representative immediately acknowledges, and I'm going to get your money after the show. Even if you're not a fan.
And I'll get a t-shirt in return.
Yes. So then they have to keep accounting and telling them how many people have paid so far. So the funds are going all the way out to make sure that their club is up and running, and that they are minimizing some of the challenges that they see their players face. So as I speak now, all over the town, they're moving with boxes. They are going to do a whole fundraising drive at the game to make sure that everybody makes a modest contribution to the bus. So we call upon everybody to join Onduparaka in that fundraising drive, because keeping Onduparaka in the football fraternity means keeping football alive.
Right.
If you have a club like that has a huge fan base, you must support them to be there, even if you're not their supporter, but they should make the league interesting and relevant.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mercy Muduru Grace, the head of marketing and communications at Onduparaka FC. Interesting, they're actually playing today, and that's why we couldn't have the players in studios. So they're actually having a game today in Arua, the Green Light Stadium, and this is a game between Onduparaka FC and KCCA FC. So be sure to look out for that as well. That has been the conversation here. I hope you've learned a thing or two in case you have or you are in a football team and you're trying to see how to get to the next level and professionalize everything. You have the answers now. That has been the conversation here on Morning at NTV. Do have yourselves a blessed weekend. See you next week. Bye.